I want you to guess what the fastest growing export in this country is. Is it oil and gas, minerals, wood products, aircraft parts? Well, you'd be wrong. As of 2022, the fastest growing export are stolen vehicles. Stolen vehicles have become a booming industry in this country. It's estimated that insurance paid out $1.2 billion in 2022 in stolen vehicles. The year before that, it was $700 million. This is an exponentially growing part of the Canadian economy, and for all the wrong reasons. Back in the 1990s, car thefts were a real problem. It inspired some of the top Hollywood film franchises with movies like Fast and the Furious and Gone in 60 Seconds. But due to a combination of improved enforcement and technological innovation, car thefts really started to drop off in the 2000s. But now it's really back in a big way. Every 6 minutes, a vehicle is stolen in Canada. I want to take a few minutes to talk about how this has become a problem again, why this is a huge problem for our country and for the world, and what needs to be done about it. Let's talk about some of the numbers we're seeing here. In 2022, over 100,000 vehicles were stolen in Canada. This is a huge number. The coordination and the logistics needed to steal these vehicles and then to move these vehicles to be smuggled abroad, it's an industrial level criminal enterprise. This isn't just some drug addict or some kid on your street taking advantage of keys left in a vehicle and going for a joyride. This is a sophisticated effort by criminal minds in our country and around the world to make billions of dollars off the theft of your vehicle. Now you may ask yourself, why is this happening in Canada? Well, we've become a soft target for organized crime. These very sophisticated criminals are outsmarting the government. While technologies have improved to keep cars safe, technologies have also drastically improved in the stealing of cars.
This is the MVP Pro. It's a key programmer. I'm gonna basically tell the car to accept this as a new key.
It's easier than ever to smuggle a car out of Canada. How do these stolen vehicles get out of the country in the first place? Well, these criminals need to get these vehicles out of the country and abroad as quickly as possible. So they're either doing that by rail car or by driving it to ports and getting it on a container ship to its final destination. Now, the Canadian Border Services Agency is full of men and women who are dedicated to doing their job and keeping Canadians safe. They don't have the capacity to check millions of containers that are leaving this country every day for stolen vehicles. What these criminals are doing is they're storing these stolen vehicles in containers, and then they're labeling the containers as similar products like washing machines to evade detection by the Canada Border Services Agency. There was a recent news report where a number of these suspicious containers were actually opened at the Port of Montreal by CBSA, and sure enough, they didn't find washing machines in there. They found stolen vehicles. Big surprise. Clearly, CBSA has a capacity problem, but there are other factors at play here. There is a huge incentive for criminals and organized crime to steal vehicles and ship them abroad and sell them, whether it be to organized crime or terrorist groups, to make money. These criminals are making tens of thousands of dollars on a nightly basis stealing your vehicles, and the penalties that our country is leveraging are far too small. Even if the penalties were big enough, the enforcement is certainly not there. And because this is the case, we're seeing an exponential rise in the number of vehicles stolen in this country year over year over year. With 2022, the final year that we have the numbers, over $1.2 billion was paid out in insurance claims. All Canadians have been struggling with this cost of living crisis. Everything's more expensive, your gas, your groceries, your home heating. But not many people really equate the cost of crime to the cost of living. But there is a very real consequence. Because those $1.2 billion paid out in 2022 in insurance claims don't come out without a cost. The insurance companies just don't have that money sitting in bank accounts. They get that money from premiums paid by law-abiding Canadians. It's estimated that every Canadian vehicle owner is paying an additional $500 a year because of stolen vehicles increasing their premium costs. This is a huge cost of living crisis. And now they're being asked to pay $500 more by insurance companies who are being forced to pay out billions of dollars because organized crime is incentivized to steal Canadians' vehicles. So we know that this is a huge, growing problem in this country. We know that it's cost over $1 billion in insurance claims in 2022 alone. We know why this is happening. We know that there isn't enough enforcement. We know that the penalties aren't high enough. We know that we're not increasing our capacity to stop the smuggling and theft from taking place in this country. And what's Canada doing about it? Well, not much really. Because now the Liberals are having a summit. They're going to get a bunch of tall foreheads in a room talking about what the problem is and what needs to be done about it. Well, we've already talked about what needs to be done about it. We need to spend the money on enforcement. We need to get tough on these violent repeat offenders with jail, not bail. We need to bring home safer streets, lower insurance premiums for Canadians who are going through a cost of living crisis, secure our border, get tough on crime.
You know, the premise of your question suggests that we're here to respond to the numbers in the polling, and that is not the case.
What Canadians don't need are more meetings. They don't need more government talking heads standing in a room trying to figure out what to do about this problem. Conservatives have been fighting for years to get our borders secure. We've been fighting for years to increase capacity to stop this smuggling from taking place when it comes to issues like guns and stolen cars coming over our border. We've been fighting for years for jail and not bail for violent repeat offenders who we know are committing acts of violence and stealing vehicles out of Canadians' driveways. You know, this isn't just an issue just within Canada's borders. This is becoming an international embarrassment. Countries that are receiving these stolen vehicles are complaining to Canada because it's undermining their economies. You know, these criminals are stealing these vehicles and shipping them abroad so quickly that they're even leaving Canadian license plates on it. I'm pretty sure they found some Tim Hortons gift cards in the glove compartment. You know, it's a nice thing that we can export roll up the rim, but this isn't the right way to do it. We should be exporting Canadian values, not Canadians' vehicles. You know, and this is an issue that's bigger than just Canada. We said earlier, what is this money from these stolen vehicles going towards? Well, it's funding firearms and drug smuggling. It's funding international terrorism. Countries like Ghana, that have been a recipient of stolen vehicles from Canada, have complained to the Canadian government that we're not doing enough to stop the scourge of Canadian stolen vehicles from their streets. You know, I think the last thing Canadians need right now is to see a bunch of Liberals in a room trying to figure out the solution to a problem that's staring us right in the face. The solution that Canadians need is a Canadian Border Services Agency with the capacity to stop the smuggling. We need to secure our borders, like Conservatives have been telling this Liberal government for nearly a decade now. But behind all of these numbers is a real story, is a family, a small business owner, somebody who's invested a great deal of their personal money in a vehicle. These are vehicles that are parked in their businesses or in their driveways, at their homes, the places where they should feel the safest. And when these crimes happen, it's not just a crime against our economy. It's not a crime just against an object. It's a crime against our right to feel secure in our own homes and in our own country. And when we have a government that doesn't take action on that, we have a government that is seriously failing to do what it has been tasked to do by the Canadian people. I hate that Justin Trudeau has allowed for stolen vehicles to become the fastest growing export in this country. And I hate the fact that during the time that you've been watching this video, another Canadian family has likely had their vehicle stolen. This isn't just a problem for people driving expensive vehicles in downtown Toronto. This is a problem for all Canadians of all walks of life. This is happening to families across the country. And even if you're a family that hasn't had your vehicle stolen, you're facing increased premiums because of these crimes. And it needs to stop.